Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Command Point podcast. We're here for another faction deep dive that we haven't done in a while. This is Shane. I'm joined with my co-host Ryan and our chief analyst Sean. How's it going, guys?
Doing pretty well. How you doing, Shane?
Not too bad. Not too bad. After in the finals for Bats, just wrapped that up last or 2 nights ago, something like that. Yeah, very exciting stuff. So yeah, Ryan, how about you? How you doing?
Yeah, it's good. Good to have you back in the stew, as it were.
We are physically, Sean's not physically with us, but me and Ryan are actually physically recording our first episode since quarantine. So I have the mic quality that Ryan has, which is very nice. I'm not recording on my iPhone.
Yeah.
So Shane, have you been doing like 9 to 5 prep for your final 2 out of 3?
Not yet. I know that I'm pretty sure Micromancer is like camping for an entire week. So I'm taking this time to chill a little bit on the kill team constant like prep, like lab work.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
not by choice, but
so you haven't set yourself an alarm every morning that's like Rocky like montage music for training?
Yeah, I'm gonna start the Rocky montage this weekend.
Okay.
Nice.
But yeah, we're here to talk about Astra Militarum. It's been a little bit since we've done a faction deep dive. I believe this is our third. Our last one was Grey Knights, and then our first ever podcast was Necrons. So this is our third one, and we're talking about the Imperial Guard, or Militarum, whatever it is that people are calling them at this point.
Yeah. Whatever anybody wants to call them. It doesn't matter. We don't.
Yeah. Well, Militarum, I think we try to talk about factions particularly that we think are, pretty good. And I think Militarum fits that mold. They're, I think, not being used as much as they probably should, or they're probably better than the perception of them in the community. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but that's how I view it.
I'd say so.
Yeah, so I guess we're probably going to start this off the same way that we start all of our deep dives. Well, I guess the same way that we started the Necron deep dive, we would have started the Grey Knight deep dive if they had subfactions with the subfactions. So I guess we'll start. First thing, before we get into the subfactions, there's the important stuff about advisors and auxilia and the Militarum Tempestus, so like the Scions. So models that have these keywords basically cannot benefit from these subfactions. So it's advisors and auxilia. So basically, like Rhine and Rouse can't benefit. Those are models from Blackstone Fortress, and as well as Bulgarins and Ogrins, because they have the auxilia keyword. So they do not get to benefit from any of these subfactions. And then in the case of Scions, they don't get to benefit from subfactions unless it's the Militarum Tempestus subfaction. So get that out of the way first and foremost. All the other models, though, including Gottfried and Pius Mora, which we'll talk about later, can benefit from these subfactions. So I'll start because I got the book here right in front of me. Right at the top, we have Cadian, Born Soldiers. This subfaction is basically reroll unmodified hit rolls of 1 in the shooting phase for models in your kill team if they have not moved in this battle round. If a model in your kill team is issued the take aim order and it has not moved in this battle round, reroll all failed hit rolls for that model until the end of the phase instead. So my immediate take on this is, well, it mentioned take aim. We're going to get into orders later when we get to the models. But usually any subfaction that involves you not moving isn't that great.
No, it's very close to the bottom, if not the bottom.
I would say it's not quite the bottom for me, but we'll get to that later. But this is definitely not one that I'm a big fan of.
No.
Sean, do you have any thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, at its core, it's similar to Dark Angels in Astartes, and Dark Angels don't see a whole lot of play. Now, the advantage that Dark Angels have is that they're in Astartes, which has a wider variety of options than the Astra Militarum do, and they have infiltrators, which do add a little bit more opportunity for that not moving part to be more achievable without giving up too much board position, because they essentially, by deploying almost anywhere on the table, almost get like a free move before the game starts. But since Astra Militarum do not get that, not being able to move isn't that great. The only argument you can really make for it is that they can take so many plasma guns that, it might, if you're playing a mission like out of the core or elites book, which nobody really does anymore, well, at least competitive packets aren't designed that way. If you're going to like a GW store or playing super, super casually at home, then maybe you're playing missions out of the book. I think there are probably some missions in there where like one person needs to defend and the other person needs to attack. And then sure, if you look out and you're the defender and you're playing Cadian, then you might be in good shape taking like 6 or 8 plasma guns or whatever they can do. But generally speaking, this probably isn't where you're looking.
Yeah, and there's already another shooting subfaction that we're going to talk about soon that is much better. But I guess moving on, Ryan, do you want to do the next one? It's Catachan, which is one that everybody's very familiar with, I'm sure, but we'll talk about it.
Yeah, sure. So Catachan Brutal Strength. Add 1 to the strength characteristics of models in your kill team. In addition, add 1 to the leadership characteristics of models in your kill team if they are within 6 inches of a friendly Catachan officer. That last bit, I think, is something that a lot of people forget about.
Yeah,
because it's almost like a just like a small little hinge bit, but it's still just any sort of like leadership bonus, I think, is kind of underrated for this faction.
Yeah, I mean, the real crux of this, though, is that strength bonus.
Yeah, for sure.
The regular Guardsmen, which are going to be the guys benefiting from this, primarily are all strength 3. So this bumps them up to strength 4. But what's really nice here, as I mentioned earlier, Gottfried and Pius Mora benefit from this too.
Yeah.
So getting Gottfried or Pius Mora, especially Gottfried, up to strength 4, I mean, that's a huge deal. I mean, that alone is almost worth taking Catachan if you aren't looking at going like full gun line.
Mm-hmm.
And Pius, I mean, that takes her to strength 4 with, in addition to her weapon and her zealot ability, can get her to strength 6, which is pretty nice against, T3 like horde stuff, which is what you're going to want to take Pius against anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in addition, the Sergeant is another big model I think really benefits from Catachan, because getting that Sergeant up to strength 4 can be pretty nice too, because he could take a power sword.
Yeah, so talk about that Sergeant model specifically.
Yeah, so the Sergeant, he's basically, he's the Sergeant. He's like the quote-unquote leader model.
Yeah, he's just like a regular Guardsman Sergeant.
Yeah. The thing about him is he gets 2 attacks instead of 1. And with Catachan, you go up to strength 4, and you can give him a power sword. So you can have a strength 4 model with a power sword, granted weapon skill 4, but he's 6 points with that power sword.
Yeah.
And I mean, once we'll get into the orders, we can talk about how crazy this can be, but basically you could potentially get like 4 attacks off at strength 4 with a power sword with a 6-point model, which is just crazy value.
That's insane return on investment.
Yeah. Anything else to talk about with Catachan?
I mean, just want to talk about you said the strength 3 to strength 4 buff is huge, and it's probably the biggest 1 point buff you can get, the specific move from 3 to 4, because it's almost always relevant. Against toughness 3, you're going from wounding on 4s to wounding on 3s. Against toughness 4, you're going from 5 to 4. Against toughness 5, which comes up sometimes, that's when it starts to say the same. But compare that to like a strength 4 model going to strength 5. Against a toughness 3, that is not a benefit. You're still wounding on 3s. So whenever we see blanket buffs like that in this game, we need to, we can't value it the same in every regard. Especially like comparing subfactions in one faction to another. Even if the subfaction, the wording is exactly the same, it's not going to apply the same to both factions because the stats are different, the point values are different, and things like that. So +1 strength means a lot more to strength 3 than it does to strength 4 or strength 5.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Sean, I don't know if you have the subfactions pulled up in front of you. Do you want to read Valhallan for us?
I do, yeah. So Valhallan, Grim Demeanor. When you take a nerve test for a model in your kill team, roll a D3 instead of a D6. So nerve tests are going to be rough for guard because by the time they're going to die a lot if you're going full on guard horde or just having a decent number, one, because they're going to die easily, but then that also makes the modifiers really stack a lot. So you're going to be, and the base leadership for a regular guardsman is 6. So that makes it really rough in terms of the morale phase. And since a 1 auto passes, and correct me if I'm interpreting this wrong, but the D3 is already going to help your odds, but then that also doubles the chance of you getting an automatic pass on a 1.
Yeah.
So that is a big buff. Now, is it the best option? No, that's a separate question. But it is definitely like a big buff to them specifically.
Yeah, I think it was definitely near the top back when the meta was hold. I don't know if I would turn to Valhallan anymore.
Yeah.
But there was definitely some legitimate grounds to look at it back when really the win condition was holding objectives, standing on objectives. Killing wasn't really getting you much outside of secondaries, and usually there was pretty good holding secondaries in addition to what the primary was. So yeah, at this point though, where there really is an emphasis in the meta on getting kills and taking enemy models out of action, I don't know if Valhallan's giving you enough.
Yeah. And here's the other thing to consider too with just like the morale phase and just guard kill teams breaking in general is Godfred is kind of like the model to be taking in I would argue basically any guard kill team. And what's his leadership? It's like 8. Yeah, leadership 8. So, I mean, how likely are you to break when you're playing guard if you have Godfred in your roster?
Yeah,
Not
that does help.
likely. So I think that right there diminishes the subfaction's effectiveness for sure.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, honestly. Yeah, I guess I'll move on to Vistroyan now. So models in your kill team do not suffer the penalty to hit rolls for their attacks that target enemy models at long range. Yeah, again, I don't think that you would take this on a full roster. Obviously, say you had like an infinite roster, like you had like a 40-man roster, then you could maybe say you were going like pure shooting and you had a huge roster. You could take a team with Vistroyan in case you're on like like the far board edges. But honestly, I don't like, you only have 20 models to a roster in the vast majority of events. And if you're going a shooting guard team, you're probably gonna have a lot of bodies. So I don't think that there's a place where you can take Vistroyan and rely on it throughout an entire like tournament.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem flexible enough.
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
At a point when the modifiers start stacking and they're already at BS4, it's like, do you just throw lots of dice and hope for 6s anyway? I don't know that the best thing you could be doing is trying to make those 6s 5s. Like, yeah, that's a lot better, but
yeah.
They're gonna be obscured anyway. If you want to just stand back and shoot, like, I don't know. I just don't think that's necessarily what you wouldn't be doing, because it's still figure, if you're looking at rapid fire range, they don't count as long range for the purpose of hit modifiers. But like, if you're firing a rapid fire weapon, you're still only going to be taking 1 shot.
Yeah.
It doesn't
maybe
say
melt-a-gun spam.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's all I can
I
think
guess that's
of.
true.
Yeah.
Yeah. 12-inch range.
I really hope you're not doing this thing again where you're just like saying something as a meme and then it accidentally becomes a very effective list.
Hey, melt-a-guns are sick.
They are.
But I mean, you have to think about it. The Scions aren't getting this bonus, and you can only take like 4 melt-a-guns. Like,
at
4.
most, with your regular guardsmen.
They would benefit from this. So like, you're looking at 5s if they're obscured. Like, I mean, yeah, no,
I think
not
we're
worth the subfaction in my eyes.
Yeah, and we're gonna get to another subfaction that would have the same effect but be better anyway. So
yeah.
So
Ryan, you want to take the next one?
Yeah. So next one is Armageddon, Industrial Efficiency. Models in your kill team firing rapid-fire weapons double the number of attacks they make if all of their targets are within 18 inches instead of half the weapon's range characteristic.
Now, if you could combine Vistroyan with Armageddon, then like you could stand at 17 or 18 inches and still get your double shots for rapid fire and ignore the long range. And then maybe got something going. But having to choose between the two, I don't know. I don't think either effect on its own is strong enough to give up some of the other options that the faction has.
Yeah, I don't really. Yeah, I mean, do you think it's better than Vistroyan? Which would you rather have if you had to have one?
Probably Vistroyan, because it's going to apply to all their weapons, not just their rapid fire weapons.
Okay.
And they do have some other options that are good but not rapid fire.
Yeah.
If I was running like 4 plasma gunners, I think I would roll with Armageddon. Just because it seems more tactically flexible, whereas the Vostroyan bonus you only get for shooting a model that's at long range. With this, as long as the target's within 18, like with a plasma gun, like your target would still be at long range when it's at 18 inches, but at least I'm rolling double the amount of dice.
Yeah.
So
that's fair.
And not supercharging, right? Because it's also
yeah, because we're not
right.
Cadians and we are not standing still. So yeah.
I mean, I guess when you have that many plasma guns, you don't need to necessarily supercharge them, but
yeah,
I mean, hopefully.
So, Sean, do you want to talk about the big one now?
Let's do it. Yeah. Talarn, swift as the wind. Models in your kill team can shoot in the shooting phase, even if they advanced in the same battle round, with the exception of heavy weapons. In addition, these models do not suffer the penalty to their hit rolls for shooting assault weapons during a battle round in which they advanced. So this is like, what's that one, Assyriani?
Yeah, it's just their passive Assyriani ability. So you're basically treated as not moving whenever you advance. So this is really good, yeah.
With the melta guns, because melta guns are 12-inch range, but they are assault. So now you can do an assault move, which is going to give you more options in terms of board position. And it's going to get rid of the -1 for advancing instead of giving away the -1 for long range.
Yeah, and even better, you can take plasma guns and advance with them, and it's like you didn't advance, so you can still shoot those plasma guns.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of like the. Oh, go ahead.
And get within rapid fire range, so yeah, could even double your shots.
Yeah, so slightly, but right before recording this episode, I had been working on a Astra Militarum list, and I trying to build up a Talarn roster, and an interesting combo to me would be to take a special weapons gunner with a melta gun and make him a scout specialist.
Interesting.
Yeah, and you don't see scout specialists a lot, but like the ability to re-roll the advance roll and then just shoot a melta gun at no penalty is just amazing to me.
Yeah,
like this guy could be moving as fast as like a Mandrake. Like I would almost say at worst, like he's going to be moving like 7 inches at worst, re-rolling.
Yeah.
So it's like you can just he's just so mobile. It's just ridiculous.
Zipping around the field, shooting melta guns.
Yeah, man, it's crazy.
Talarn is very good. If you're going for a shooting approach for guard, this is probably the most competitive option that you have.
Yeah.
I don't want to say like, let's look at Catachan and Talarn, which is better, because I think they serve different purposes, but they're both very good for what they do.
Yeah, because you're taking what's already the Astra Militarum strength, and that's positional play with lots and lots of bodies, and you are then, making them better at that, and at the same time, improving their fighting abilities. Because you're essentially making them be able to move faster and get better dice at the same time for shooting. So, so it's it's hard to argue with that being one of the top choices right now.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one, which is Militarum Tempestus Stormtroopers. If a model in your kill team targets an enemy model that is within range and not at long range when making a shooting attack, it can make an extra shot with the same weapon at the same target for each unmodified hit roll of 6. So there's like a little bit of like controversy about this because it's obviously, as stated in the top of the regimental doctrines part, the only subfaction that a Scion can take is the Militarum Tempestus. But it technically doesn't, but it also says that only models with the Tempestus keyword can like take this rather. But like there's people that have made arguments that say like you like non-Scion models can benefit from this because once you give them the subfaction, they get the keyword. I'm not sure. To me that seems like obviously rules as intended. That's not what Games Workshop was going for.
Yeah, that's a reach for sure.
Yeah. But like you would be surprised at how many people play like this.
I guess so. This is like the first I've ever heard of this.
Yeah.
Check with your TO.
Yeah, check with your TO because this is an important distinction to make. I mean, even assuming that is the case, I still don't think it's better than Talarn. To the point where you would want to like make your regular guardsman get this ability. I mean, it's not terrible.
I think that's what surprises me the most about what you just said is that people are out here saying that that's how that works, but it's like you're handicapping yourself because the other just running a faction with Scions in it instead of running Scions with Guardsmen in it, getting the Scion subfaction.
Yeah,
that just seems wrong to me on a lot of levels. It seems illegal and it seems inefficient.
Yes.
It's like you're cheating, but you're handicapping yourself.
The reason that people I think have made this argument, if you ask me, is because they want to be able to take Gottfried in their Scion team without losing the Scion bonus.
So they want to. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it isn't that bad. Assuming you did want to run like a full Scion team, I don't think that's very efficient because you're missing out on Pius, on Gottfried, on Ryan and Rouse. It's the unmodified hit roll getting another shot. It's okay. It's not great. Say you wanted to run like hot shot volley guns. Those things have 4 shots. It's not too crazy that you could get a 6. I mean, if you have a plasma who gets a 6, you get another shot with a plasma.
Yeah.
But it's really not.
It's
that
a
great.
bonus.
Yeah, it's something. If you say like you bought like a Tempestus Scion box and that's all you have, you basically you
literally don't have a choice.
Yeah. At least this way, people who only have that can still run a subfaction.
Yeah.
Which I mean, there are people that we've played with that for like at certain points only had Scions and they were just playing with that. I mean, Scions aren't bad. We'll talk about them later. But
yeah, they're good.
I would rather take Scions, not have a bonus for them, and then run other things that do get bonuses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess all that's left is Morbian. So Ryan, earlier I said that there was one that in my eyes was the worst, and it's Morbian.
Yeah.
I'll read it. Morbian Parade Drill. If the base of a model in your kill team is touching the base of at least 2 other friendly Morbian models, add 1 to that model's leadership characteristic, and when that model fires Overwatch, they successfully hit on a roll of 5 or 6. Yeah, there's just...
Okay, so...
So if you want to play Revolutionary War and like just line up all your
Yep.
dudes and have them like stare at each other. Yeah.
Specifically the British in the revolution, like the red coats.
Oh yeah, 100%.
yeah.
It's thematic. Their whole thing is just using outdated forms of fighting, I guess, which is something to be said for the Astra Militarum as a whole thematically. But
even if it was just a base, like every Mordian model Overwatches on a 5 or 6, I still don't think that I would take this.
No,
even without the stipulant. I can't even get my words right.
Stipulated.
Even without needing to touch 2 other bases of friendly models. Not very good.
Yeah, copy paste and turn messed up when they were going from Warhammer Fantasy Battles over to Kill Team.
Oh yeah, they got rid of Warhammer Fantasy and then they just made that entire way of playing the game this subfaction. I can go on for like 15 minutes about just like joking about this faction.
real bad.
I love Mordians, actually.
Yeah,
like fluff wise. I was considering when I was like first dabbling into 40K was converting a bunch of guardsmen to make them look like the old guard from Napoleon's Grand Armée. And that would have been super cool. I saw another guy did it and it looked amazing, but yeah, no, competitive kill team, get it out of here. This is garbage. Come on.
Yeah. Honestly, Guard kind of get like a bad rep for being like the most boring like team, but like some of their like stuff is kind of cool once you like really like dive
It's
into
super
it. Like
cool,
Catachan's really cool. Like they're more than just like basic army humans. Like which I get is like in a game like 40K where there's so much cool stuff.
I think that's what makes them so special in my eyes.
Right?
Is that it's like these guys, they're just given like just mass produced, just like crappy, like overpowered flashlights basically with just supercharged flashlights, and they're told go hold a defensive position against a freaking like greater demon.
Yeah.
And they're just like, what?
Okay.
What? Okay.
Yeah,
just
okay.
given cardboard boxes for body armor. That's why I love them, man.
So obviously Catachan and Talarn are the best here, right?
Absolutely.
I would say if I had to pick a third place, it's like a distant third, probably Valhallan. Like I would say, but I still wouldn't really take them at this point.
Yeah.
But I see the use for it in competitive, but just not in this. Maybe in like a Nova format.
Yeah.
Valhallan would have like a place. Even then, there's still a conversation to be had between that and Talarn.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess we can move on.
Yeah, let's talk about.
Talk about some of their tactics.
The tactics, yeah.
They've got some good ones. They've got like 14 of them. We're not going to touch on every single one.
Yeah.
But I think we should talk about some of the important ones because they have some pretty good options here.
Yeah.
Do you want to start, Ryan?
Yeah, let me bring it up.
Actually, while you bring it up, I'll just take the reins on this.
Yeah.
I guess the first one, this is one that a lot of factions have. It's called Adrenal Shot for Guard. It's basically when you take a mortal wound for 1 CP, you can roll a die, and on a 5-up, you deny it. We've seen this from a lot of other factions. I think Grey Knights have one, and we talked about that in the last episode. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I think every faction should have an option like this. It's very like in a pinch, it's good against psychic, which
I
think it's the best natural defense. I think it's simple
against psychic. Yeah.
Yeah. Like if you have like a Bulgarian, like ready to like soak a couple Cybolts up, you can pop this tactic and get 2 5-up chances to stop it.
Yeah.
And that's pretty neat. Yeah, I mean, that's not much to say about that. It's a good tactic. It's only 1 CP.
Mm-hmm. All right. I guess next up, just going down the line here, we have Get Down. Use this tactic in your opponent's turn in the shooting phase when they choose a model from your kill team as a target and your model is obscured. Attacks that target that model in this phase suffer an additional -1 penalty to their hit rolls. So targets within close range, but it's obscured, got 3 at ballistic skill. I would be hitting it on a 5 in this instance because the target's obscured. And then this would add -1. At long range, it would be needing a 6 to hit.
Yeah.
For 1 CP, I think that's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's like giving a guy a temporary
stealth suit
camo cloak, stealth suit, something like that. Yeah.
If you're playing shooty, you're going to be getting in like these gunfights, and I think that's like a pretty useful tactic.
Yeah, especially if you find yourself in a situation where you have a single model or a couple models on an objective, and those guys need to stay alive for you to just keep holding that.
Yeah,
that's a good tactic.
Sean, do you want to take aerial drop?
Yeah, it's basically one of those reserve tactics that you can set up 3 models for 1 CP, and it's for Militarum's Tempestus Scion and or Tempesture Prime. So pick 3 of the models for 1 CP, drop them anywhere more than 5 inches away from enemy models. So the Terminator, Reaver, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera tactic.
It's really good here though, because those guys can take meltaguns.
Yeah,
and there's nothing
drop them in short
scarier
range.
Yeah, nothing scarier than a meltagun popping up 6 inches away from your leader at the end of turn 1. Just because, like, I feel like most of these tactics that you see, it's not for gunners, it's for like the melee models. So that's why aerial drop in particular is so like crazy strong in my eyes.
Mm-hmm.
You can drop 3 of these like cheap gunner guys basically in your opponent's like backline.
Yeah, if they're not careful and they don't screen out against it. Yeah.
And I mean that's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's a very good, as far as deep strike tactics go, it's one of the best ones in the game, I think.
Yeah, I agree. Okay.
I guess I'll take.
Want to do Sir Yes Sir?
Sure. Yeah. Sir Yes Sir is a really good one. Especially with the, I mean, we got the new LVO coming out and with 3 CP per turn, stuff like this. These 2 CP tactics become even better, and they're already pretty good. So it's 2 command points. Use this tactic after picking a model from your kill team to be affected by an order. All models from your kill team, other than your kill team's leader, within 3 inches of that model are also affected by the same order. You cannot use this tactic in the same battle round as the Cunning Strategy tactic. So again, we haven't talked about orders yet. We'll get to that after the tactics, but this can be like really, really cost efficient, even at 2 CP.
Yeah.
Like say you have like 3 plasma guns within 2 inches of each other.
Mm-hmm.
You do like the take aim order,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically they get to reroll hit rolls of 1, and then you use Sir Yes Sir. That's like all 3 of those guys basically become sniper specialists this round.
Yeah.
And like Catachan, so you got like 3 guys that can use it, and like they're all in combat and they're near each other. You can do this. You can do like fixed bayonets so that they fight in the shooting phase. Pop Sir Yes Sir. You got 3 guys fighting before it's even the fight phase.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. I mean, it's 2 CP, so like you don't see it that much, but I think in formats where you're seeing 3 CP per turn, this is definitely a big thing. I mean, I had that video recently about action economy. Guard, because of orders and stuff like this, they really, really are at the top of the game when it comes to that stuff. Ryan, do you want to use Cunning Strategy? Talk about that right now.
Yeah, so Cunning Strategy, kind of in the same vein. Use this tactic after your leader or an officer has issued an order. That model may immediately issue an additional order. It's just more flexibility.
Yeah, I guess it's worth noting that a model can't be issued the same order twice in a round.
Yeah.
So you'd have to pick like a different, or I mean, you'd have to pick a different order, and do it again. But that's pretty.
Yeah. There's a lot of different ways I can see of using these 2 tactics, Sir Yes Sir and Cunning Strategy, just to chain a lot of crazy stuff that interrupts the normal flow of the fight phase and the shooting phase, and it's just really great.
Yeah.
2 CP, I think that's pretty good price.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, and you don't have to group up your guys the same way you did for Sir Yes Sir. So especially if you're playing with something like meltas or plasmas, and you have power weapons, and they're trying to stay out of line of sight. Well, you can go from opposite end of the boards with these orders instead of and have now it's a lot harder to hide from you instead of Sir Yes Sir when it's only within that little bubble. So it's just kind of a different angle on that same effect of spreading out the orders.
I guess moving on to there's defensive stand. This is another one that a lot of factions have that I mean, there are times when this might be good. It's basically 2 CP, and you overwatch on 5s or 6s rather than just 6s.
Yeah.
Not much to say about it, but I mean, there's certainly a time when it's possibly good. I wouldn't advise using it too much.
Yeah, like I could see using it on like the Scion,
Hotshot
the Scion
volley gun.
gunner with the hotshot volley gun, just because he's spitting out 4 shots, you know. But yeah, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah,
it's just a more expensive way of being Tau. Okay.
Sean, do you want to do fight to the death? This is like my favorite one.
Yeah, this one's great.
Yeah. Use this tactic before an injury roll is made for a model from your kill team. Apply a -1 modifier to the injury roll. 1 command point. So is it better than just re-rolling the... I mean, I guess if you have enough CP to do this with and have the option to re-roll, like, it's good, but you know, the injury roll is already one of the kind of maybe feel bad moments of Kill Team. Just that kind of coin flip after many other coin flips. So anytime you get to modify that, it's nice, but
I like it against Psychic.
Oh yeah.
You don't really have, other than the Adrenal shot, you don't get a save against Psychic.
Oh, I totally like
the odds are better
is
using this than using the stim shot or whatever that is against Psychic, right? Because with the stim shot, you need a 5-up to ignore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally.
What was that, Sean?
I was thinking of this on offense, but this is for defense. So yeah, that's good. Especially like if you're in cover.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So like, it's just another way to keep your guys alive.
Yeah.
Like if you're in cover and you're in like getting shot at, and you're within an inch of cover, then suddenly you're only going out on a 6.
Yeah, and that's probably the best time to use this because that limits the usefulness of a reroll for your opponent. Figure if you're not in cover and they're taking you out on a 4-up, and then you make it a 5-up, they're still like, it's slightly better than 50% if they're willing to reroll it. So, but if you're in cover and it would be a 5-up and now it's a 6-up, like that's not worth re-rolling. So that's when this really shines, I guess. So if you're looking at a guy that likes to fight or shoot from mid-range to long range and with kind of peeking out behind cover, then this will do a good job in protecting them.
Yeah. I think there's really only one other tactic that I think is probably worth mentioning. And for me, that's Reconnaissance Protocols. Kind of situational, but it's basically like you get a vet move on like a Scion model from your kill team. It's at the start of the first battle round. It's 1 CP. It's instead of making a vet move, I guess it would be like you make 2d6 normal move. It's I mean, there's definitely some potential maybe for some like crazy vet move cheese where like you make like a Tempesture with a power fist, a veteran, and then you use Reconnaissance Protocols to move him 2d6, and then you vet move to advance him, and then, you know, like get in your opponent's face. It's kind of like niche, but I don't know. It's an interesting.
I don't think it's that niche, actually. When I first read this tactic, my first thought was, well, why don't I just use aerial drop? Because that it's the same CP cost, and I have a much greater chance of getting a model within an efficient engagement distance by just airdropping them. What I wasn't considering at the time was I can use this on Arena.
Oh yeah.
So this tactic it's 1 CP. It's totally viable in Arena. Yeah.
It's viable in Arena. You can use it and then ready. Instead of making a move. So now, you know, on a veteran, you could do the same thing, but you could do this with any model then that's not a veteran.
Yeah, or if you're
well, it has to be a Scion, but yeah, you're right. It doesn't
right.
A vet
right,
spec.
but it doesn't have to be a vet spec,
yeah.
And
hey, if you're playing in Europe, you and your TOs are forcing you to not charge after advancing with a vet move. You could use this as like a budget vet move plus charge.
Oh yes, you totally can.
Hey, you don't advance, you move 2d6.
That's right.
To be fair though, this can also screw you over because you can get Snake Eyes and suddenly you're spending 1 CP to just move 2 inches.
Yeah, for sure.
But I mean, usually you're gonna get like 7, 8. You know.
Yeah. That's what the other CP is for. Just tack reroll it, and then you roll Snake Eyes again.
Yeah. Oh, there's also Cooked Grenade.
So it's interesting. That tactic is interesting.
It is interesting. Do you want to read it or should I?
I'll read it. Use this tactic when you choose a model from your kill team to make a shooting attack with a frag grenade. Instead of determining the number of attacks for that shooting attack, roll a d6. On a roll of 1, that model suffers a mortal wound and the attack sequence ends. So your guardsman, he can pull the pin, cook the grenade, cook it for too long accidentally, and mortally wound himself. But on a roll of a 2-up until the end of the phase, change the weapons type to grenade 6. So I mean, this would be
It's only 1 CP. Also.
yeah.
If you're against a T3,
if
you know that's pretty good.
Yeah, if you're getting charged by something,
Yeah.
that makes sense to be using a frag grenade on Overwatch. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess.
The first time I read this, I
It's
didn't realize that it specified frag grenade.
Yeah,
And I was like,
right.
whoa, can you make a crack grenade 6? Like,
Can you make
6 shots?
Yeah.
But no, it's only frag grenade. But like against like a T3 kind of weaker model, if you really want to get something with a grenade,
I'm trying to think of a T3 model
like
that
Termagants
charges
or a
and-
Poxwalker or something like that. Yeah, I don't know. It's okay. Only 1 CP, so I can't really like call it trash. It's got its moments. Anyway, I mean, I think that's pretty much all the worth talking about.
Yeah.
Secondaries or not secondaries?
Tactics. Yeah, the Vengeance for Cadia one is interesting, but under very specific circumstances. Use this tactic when you choose a model from your kill team to shoot or fire Overwatch, and the target is a Heretic Astartes model. You can reroll failed hit and wound rolls for your model against that Heretic Astartes model, and it's 2 CP. I think it costs too much, but if you're overwatching with like a Flamer against a Khorne Berserker, I think it might be worth it because you're going to be auto hitting anyway with the Flamer.
Yeah.
But you're re-rolling all of your wound rolls.
Or just like a regular shooting attack with like a hotshot volley gun, you could get like a lot of hits and wounds through.
Yeah.
I don't know. Or like even a plasma gun. Like your
Yeah.
guy basically gets a sniper bonus, but better.
Yeah.
But it's 2 CP and it's only against
It's
Heretic
only against
Astartes.
Heretic, yeah. So I don't even know
Yeah.
if Cultists would qualify under
I
it.
think they have that.
Because that's
keyword.
the faction keyword, Heretic
Right.
Astartes. Okay.
Servants of the
Yeah.
Abyss. Some Servants of the Abyss models would also get the Heretic Astartes keyword.
Oh,
so
really?
yeah,
Okay.
worth talking about. Anyway, I guess, do we want to make the shift and talk about orders and then talk about the units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I could get on my soapbox and talk forever about how amazing orders are because, I mean, I'm really high on the term action economy. Basically being able to expand that and do actions and activate your models more often than a normal model can activate. And Militarum are like crazy about this. They can do so much more with a single model than most factions can. So basically the way that orders work is your leader can, at the start of the shooting phase, can issue an order to any model within 12 inches. And they don't have to have a line of sight on that model. It's just if you're within 12 inches, your leader can issue an order on you. So these orders basically allow them to do things that they wouldn't normally be able to do based on like what they did in the movement phase. So like there's 6 orders and you choose one. And it's worth noting that your leader can't issue himself an order, obviously.
We say obviously,
Yeah,
but
some people might try it. So if somebody tries
Yeah.
to do that, call them out. But this is actually an instance where it is definitely always going to be the right choice to take like the weak leader, because you don't want your leader to be strong because then your leader can't, or that model can't take orders.
right.
But I guess let's go down the orders. The first one is take aim. So the model that you issue the take aim order to can reroll hit rolls of 1 for the until the end of the phase. So this is for the shooting phase because this happens in the shooting phase.
Yeah.
So basically you pick a model and it's okay, you're a sniper specialist this turn.
Yeah.
Pretty good if you have like a plasma guy near your leader that is going to get shots off and he's not a sniper and you want to reroll 1s and overcharge.
Yeah.
That's very good.
Yeah. And then, like we said earlier, if you're chaining that with the Sir Yes Sir,
Yeah.
you got like however many models within 3 inches of each other, all of a sudden become sniper specs.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
And later we'll see how much that matters with this because of how many plasma guns you can take.
That's right.
The next one is bring it down. This is the same thing except it's wound rolls of 1. This is really good if you're issuing this to a flamer who is in range of, whatever. They can, because they don't have to worry about the hit roll. So suddenly your flamer is rerolling all wound rolls of 1. That's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely very solid. But those two are like kind of, I don't want to say basic bonuses because they're both really good, but I think it's the other ones to me that really stick out as being like you're almost breaking the game with the stuff that you're allowed to do with your models. And we'll start with forwards for the Emperor. So the ordered model can shoot even if it advanced in the previous movement phase. So this is basically like, say you're running like Catachan, but you still have like one gunner who like advanced with plasma. Bam, they can shoot with their plasma now, as if they didn't do that. This is really good.
And even if you are playing Talarn, you can use this on heavy weapons, right?
Oh yeah,
That's right. Yeah.
good point. Because it does not specify heavy weapons. Yeah.
Right. So hot shot volley guns can advance and then do their full shots.
Yeah. Oof.
Yeah, they can.
Because the hot shots. That's a hot
Heavy
shot volley
four.
gun's
It is
a
a heavy weapon, but they don't get they don't benefit from the Talarn subfaction trait.
Right.
But this
use this.
order overrides it. Yeah.
Okay, next one. This is a really good one. Two. This model can shoot this phase even if it fell back in the movement phase.
Flamer, baby. That's all I gotta say.
Flamer can do some crazy stuff. I mean, even if like a plasma falls back, again, like there's so many good shooting models that these types of abilities can really benefit them.
Meltagun falling back.
Yeah. Pretty good. Move is the fifth one. This is a really good one too, just because it's movement is king in this game a lot of the time. Instead of shooting this phase, the ordered model immediately makes an advance move as if it were the movement phase. So a guy goes one place, your opponent reacts to that. You hit them with move, and suddenly that guy is not where they were before.
Psych.
Yeah. Additionally, you can get a guy onto an objective that he couldn't quite reach or something like that. You can move him out of line of sight. There's just endless stuff you can do with these tactics. And
that move breaks the order too. So say you had initiative as Militarum, but you get into position, then they get to move and put one of your models in danger. Move triggers before readied initiative models get to shoot. So because it says the ordered model immediately makes an advanced move, not makes an advanced move when it would have shot. It immediately makes an advanced move before your opponent has an opportunity to shoot them at all. So you can kind of get them into a safe spot, which may also be in a better position to shoot themselves, or only to get them into a better position. So it's a nice way to kind of beat the initiative problem in this game.
Yeah. And then my favorite one, fixed bayonets. This is really good, especially with Catachan. This order can only be issued to a model within 1 inch of an enemy model. The ordered model immediately fights as if it were the fight phase. So basically, it's worth noting that this doesn't take up like say your model charges, and then you order fixed bayonets. This model can still fight again in the fight phase.
Yeah.
Even though it already fought here in the shooting phase with fixed bayonets. So say you have like a Tempesture or something with a power fist who charges in. You order fixed bayonets and they get 2 attacks hitting on 4s of the power fist. And then when the fight phase comes, they get to fight again with 2 more attacks. Yeah, this is pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Really fantastic use of an order at times. It can straight up like win a game. Or you say you get charged, suddenly you get to make 2 attacks with this model before the model that charged them does.
Yeah.
So it's like you always have to think twice about charging like a strong melee model for guard.
Yeah, it's for sure game breaking.
Yeah. And yeah, that's all the orders. I mean, this is just action economy heaven. Like,
yeah,
it's kind of like their whole thing.
It's a buffet, man. You've got something for, man, like every kind of like situation or tough spot that you're in. It's almost like you have an answer for it.
Yeah. And I guess now we can talk about the models themselves. So the first 2 data sheets, we can kind of just talk about them all as one, but I guess it's worth mentioning that they are 2 different data sheets, and that's the infantry squad guardsman and the special weapons squad guardsman.
Pretty much the same.
Yeah, they're basically the same. You can only take 1 regular guardsman gunner, but you can take 3 special weapons gunners. The actual weapons that they can take are the same, and
Point costs are the same too, right?
Point costs are the same. Data sheets are the exact same. Strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership 6, 5 up save, 6-inch movement. I mean, that's just the Guardsman profile. I guess it's worth pointing out the Sergeant before we get into the actual guns that the gunners can take. The Sergeant is that profile that I just described, except he has 2 attacks instead of 1, and he has 7 leadership instead of 6. So I guess just talking, I'll talk about these at the same time. A regular special weapons guardsman and a regular guardsman is armed with a Laz Gun and frag grenades, and they can't be customized. The guardsman gunner and the special weapons gunners can replace their Laz Gun with a flamer, grenade launcher, melta-gun, plasma gun, or sniper rifle. Pretty good options there.
Oh yeah.
And then the sergeant is armed with a Laz pistol, chainsword, and frag grenades, but they can replace their bolt pistol or their Laz pistol with either a bolt pistol or plasma, and they can replace their chainsword with a power sword. So the nice thing about fixed bayonets with a sergeant, for instance, if the sergeant's not your leader, you have this 6-point model with a power sword with 2 attacks, strength 4 if it's Catachan, and you can have them basically make 4 attacks with a power sword. For 6 points, that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, and 2 of those attacks, they override models that charge and all that other stuff. Man, that is insane.
And the most important thing about the 2 separate data sheets is for the regular infantry squad guardsman profile, only the sergeant can be a leader. But for the special weapons squad guardsman profile, any of them can be a leader. So like a special weapons guardsman with just a Laz Gun can be your leader. Yeah. So that can be your cheap guy making orders at the back.
Right.
Basically allows your sergeant or your Tempesture, who would otherwise be a leader, to receive orders and do stuff with their really cool kits.
Actually be useful.
Yeah. Also, a guardsman, a regular guardsman can take a Voxcaster.
Yeah.
Which basically, if there's a Voxcaster on the battlefield that isn't shaken, then you can re-roll failed nerf tests for all Astra Militarum models.
Which is good. Yeah. It's great. Great piece of kit.
Anything you guys want to say about those models, the basic guardsman and special weapons guardsman?
I have a new appreciation for these guys. I didn't watch the whole movie, but I just saw Starship Troopers a little bit of that recently. So I was glossed over these guys because I thought they were kind of boring. But then after watching a bit of that, it's like, yeah, okay, I can dig this. Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, it's a bug hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you ever seen was it Aliens was the second one, right?
Yeah, it was Alien and then
Aliens. Yeah, Aliens where all the Colonial Marines go in, do the bug hunt. Yeah,
that goes well for them, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it goes great.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's not much else to say about guardsmen. They're just
these data sheets are the source of 4 of your total of 8 plasma guns that you can take.
Yeah,
or any other combination of special weapons.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the biggest drawback to these guys isn't that they're really easy to kill, it's that they have 4 ballistic skill.
Yeah.
So obscured, you're hitting on 5s. Long range, you're hitting on 5s. Both 6s. That's not great.
Yeah. If you're playing like Arena or something and you want to take a bunch of flamers, give it to these guys, because then their ballistic skill doesn't matter because they'll just be auto hitting with those flamers.
Yeah. I guess the regular gun that they're armed with is a Laz Gun. I'll read it, but it's a very unimpressive profile. It's 24-inch rapid fire 1, strength 3, 0 AP, 1 damage. It is the free weapon that you get on a 5-point guardsman. Yeah, it's
the right hand of the Imperium.
So yeah, those gunners are going to be pretty important for you. If you can't tell. Do we want to talk about Scions now? When do you guys want to take that?
Yeah, Sean, you want to talk about Scions?
Yeah. So Scions very similar to those guys with just a couple very important buffs. So Scions have a 6-inch move, 4-up weapon skill, 3-up ballistic skill. That's the first very important upgrade. Strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 1 attack, leadership of 6, save of 4-up. So that's
instead of 5, yeah.
Yeah, and these guys, instead of being 5 points each, they are 9 points each. So, and then in terms of other options, you can get a Scion Gunner. Well, you can get up to 4 Scion Gunners that can have the same, it looks like exactly the same upgrades as the
Except the
other
hot shot
Guardsman.
volley gun.
Yeah, and then
They also have the hotshot Laz Gun just as their base weapon.
Right. So their base gun has the upgrade of being AP -2, but it is 18-inch rapid fire 1 instead of 24-inch.
Yeah. Still strength 3 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So AP -2 is like a pretty sweet place to be.
Yeah.
Even though you're only at a strength 3, I don't want to say it's more important to have the higher AP, but having AP instead of strength is nice in that it takes reroll options. It makes your opponent's rerolls way less good. Handing them over, giving them an armor save of a 3-up is really crappy. So, a bolt gun hitting a 3-up save is really bad. But if they suddenly have to make a 5-up save, that's a lot trickier. And then their reroll, it's like they really have to think about it then. And, if they decide to do it, they could just be throwing away that CP, where if you fail a 3-up save, it's just like you roll your eyes, but then you spend your CP and you roll it again. And you'll probably get it then. So even though it's only strength 3, AP -2 is really awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically like you said with the gunners, it's the same weapon choices, except basically they just kind of got rid of the bad ones, like the sniper rifle and the grenade launcher. I guess the gunners can't take that, but you're not going to take that anyway.
Yeah, they figured it out.
And then the hot shot volley gun is excellent. I'll read that one out because this is a specific weapon that no other faction gets. It's a 24-inch heavy 4, strength 4, AP -2, 1 damage. So put a heavy on that guy. That's really good. Give them some orders like reroll hit rolls of 1, or there's a lot that they can do with that. Hot shot volley gun's pretty strong.
Yeah, and it's got the same problem. I mean, it still costs 3 points like the other guns do, but it's still a 1 damage weapon. So I feel like, I don't know if you guys play Magic at all, but the dice to Doomblade argument of it's okay, except this one situation is what makes it really bad. So it's a 1 damage weapon, which stinks. But at 4 shots on ballistic skill 3, you got a really good chance of getting to that injury roll.
And if they're heavy,
no.
You can get another shot on them for 1 CP, so it's basically becomes heavy 5. 5 shots is a lot of shots to have on any weapon, especially a weapon with AP -2. So
and that's a 12. Yeah, or no, 13-point model to have a Scion Gunner with the hot shot volley gun. So then compare that to a 12-point basic TAC Marine with a bolt gun compared to this guy. That's nobody plays TAC Marines, but that's a huge upgrade into this gun here.
Yeah, I was gonna say Scions. Their base stat line, is it's identical to that of a Space Marine Scout, except they just have some different, arguably better weapon options, just because of the variety of weapons they can take. They don't have missile launchers.
Yeah. Well, the Scouts are at least strength 4, toughness 4.
Oh yeah,
and the Scions are 3 and 3.
That is true.
So they go down pretty easy. They still got the 4-up save, which is a nice upgrade over a 5-up save. But yeah, I want to talk about the Tempesture because this is my favorite model that Militarum can take. So this is basically the Sergeant equivalent for the Scions. 6-inch movement, 3-up weapon skill, 3-up ballistic skill, strength 3, toughness 3, 1 wound, 2 attacks, 7 leadership instead of 6. Still the 4-up save. What's nice about this guy is that you can give him a power fist. You can replace. He's armed with a chainsword las pistol or a hotshot las pistol and a chainsword, but you can replace that chainsword with a power fist or power sword. And even though that, say you're running Catachan and you have a big melee focus, these guys don't benefit from the Catachan bonus. But still, a power fist on a Tempesture is still strength 6, 2 attacks hitting on 4s, and if you If you use fixed bayonets on him, that's 4 attacks with a power fist, strength 6, AP 3, D3 damage. That's crazy. And I believe that model is
12 points.
Yep, only 12 points for that. That's very good.
They're so cheap.
And you can replace their hotshot las pistol with a bolt pistol or plasma pistol.
The plasma pistol is only 1 point, I think.
I think so as well. Yeah, it is. Actually, plasma pistol on like the sergeant and Tempesture isn't that bad either, because you can always order them to reroll hit rolls of 1 and
supercharging.
Yeah, overcharge it. It's
turns them into a pretty decent flex model.
Yeah, very much so. So that's a 13-point model if they have the power fist and the plasma pistol, but still really good, especially with orders. So that's why it's really important for you to make your leader one of those special weapons guardsmen.
Yeah, I kind of want to make a Scion team. I don't own any military models, but I really like the Necromunda Palanite Enforcer Patrol models, and they would make awesome Scions.
Yeah.
They're like perfect for Scions, and they're really sweet looking.
Yeah, so. Scions get bonus points for looking really cool.
They do.
They're like the ODST from Halo. That's what I always think about.
Speaking of ODST, I love the idea of dropping 3 of these guys down from reserves with their aerial drop, and they just pull up with the melta-guns.
Yeah, you could drop 3 Scion gunners with melta-guns or plasma guns, just like right behind like your like enemy's backline.
Yeah,
and that's terrifying.
Yeah. Or here's a tactic that I was just thinking of just now as we were talking about these guys. Say you've got a bunch of Scions, and it's on open format, so you can use aerial drop, or you can bring them on into your your deployment zone for free. Set them all up within 3 inches of each other, and then have your officer, or sorry, not your officer, your leader, use the 2 CP to issue orders, just like in case there's an objective either in front of you or downrange from you, where you can set them all up to kind of have line of sight. It's just, you can turn 1, you can watch your opponent make all the moves, then at the end of the movement phase, you can bring all your models on from reserves, and then you can just set up just like an artillery barrage, basically, and they are powerless to stop it.
Yeah,
that's
really good potential there.
Yeah, I might do Astra Militarum next. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a pretty scary combo. Yeah, I mean, the aerial drop for these guys is one of the scariest deep strikes in the game. Drop 3 like 13-point gunners.
Yeah, man, you don't care if they die. They're only 13 points.
Especially when you have a bunch of guardsmen at 5 points taking objectives.
You've got 8 models with some sort of special weapons, either melta-guns or plasma guns. It's like, oh, one of them died. Oh. If he kills a model that is worth far more than him, like any sort of Space Marine, it's just the return on investment potential with single models in this kill team faction is it's hard to beat.
Beat. And you can, when you're valuing models, you need to kind of consider, what is the value of the model based on its own stats, but then what is also the value of the model based on its weapon stats. And the more I play this game, the more I start to really consider like almost skipping over, like scroll past all the data sheets for the models themselves and go straight to what weapons that faction can take and say, okay, that weapon is sweet. It's, how much does it cost? Who's allowed to take it? So when you have these high strength, high AP, high damage weapons that are really good and going to have a huge impact on the game, at a point, it doesn't really matter if that really, really powerful weapon is on a 30-something point Terminator or if it's on a 10-point Scion Gunner. That weapon being on the board is what's going to make a big difference, not necessarily the strength of the body it's on. So exactly, when you can put a Melta on behind your opponent's deployment zone for only 13 points and 1 CP, like that is going to disrupt a lot of stuff, and there's so much potential to get so much value out of that 13-point model, taking down a much more expensive model that in theory was really buff, but nothing looks all that buff once it has a melta-gun 5 inches away from it.
Yeah,
very true.
Can I also propose a different scenario that's equally as terrifying? Say you're playing a melee horde, like not even a horde, but just a pure melee team, like you're running a bunch of orcs or like harlequins or something, and suddenly within 8 inches 3 Scion flamers drop
Teleport
directly in
behind
front
you.
of you or behind you. I mean, really, what response do you have? Like if I'm playing orc boys, like I have like a few knobs, like a standard like orc list now, like you have like a few knobs and like a bunch of boys. If 3 Scions drop in front of my boys, who are probably holding like Shudas at best, there is no response for me.
Not my boys.
I am getting, those guys are flammable. They are getting toasted. Yeah. So Scion Gunners, excellent. Very excellent.
Yeah.
Basically Scions in general. They don't need to benefit from subfactions to be very good, very effective models for your kill team. When you think about it, like a lot of the shooting subfactions too are kind of just making up for the fact that Guardsmen have 4-up ballistic skill. And Scions, they don't need it because they already have 3-up. So, I mean, don't look at Scions as being like this extra thing that doesn't really fit because they don't get the subfaction. They're already good. They don't need it. They're very great. And having them in your kill team doesn't prevent you from having the other subfactions for your guys. So,
yeah. So all you people trying to cheat, you're dumb. I guess talk about the Ogren,
the big boys. I love these guys.
Yeah.
Well, I don't really love the Ogrins, but I'll start with the Ogre. So the Ogre, I guess the most important thing to say about these guys first and foremost is they are an Ogre is 26 points. There's the Ogre Bonet, who's 27 points. I'll just read the data sheet. And a regular Ogre or an Ogre Bonet is 6-inch movement, 3-up weapon skill, 4-up ballistic skill, strength 5, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 3 attacks, 4 for the Ogre Bonet, 7 leadership for the Ogre, 8 for the Bonet, and 5-up saves. They're armed with a Ripper gun and frag bombs. And this is the only weapon that they can take, so I'll read that because this is pretty important to explaining why Ogrins are bad. A Ripper gun is, first the frag bombs, they're just frag grenades except they're strength 4. So ignore that. That's all right, whatever.
Yuck.
The Ripper gun, it's one of those weapons where it has a melee and a range profile. The range profile is 12-inch, assault 3, strength 5, 0 AP, 1 damage. Not great, especially because they have 4-up ballistic skill and it's only 12 inches. I mean, strength 5 is okay, but not going to come in handy that often unless you're against like a horde with like really weak guys that you can kind of gun down. And then the melee profile is strength user, so 5, AP 1 damage. For 26 points, that's not enough.
No.
Especially because these guys, they're toughness 5 with 3 wounds, but they have a 5-up save and no invuln.
They can survive, but they have no invuln.
So you walk up with a multi-damage weapon and they explode.
And then you just thunder hammer them and they just explode. Yeah.
Not that great. They have the ability Avalanche of Muscle. Bulgarians also have this. You can add 1 to the attacks characteristic of this model in the fight phase of any battle round in which it charged. This ability may only be used the first time this model fights this round. I mean, that's not that. Yeah.
They're a shooting model and they fight better than shooting.
Yeah. So
they're bad.
Yeah, I mean they're very underwhelming. They don't get subfaction bonuses, so they're not going up to like strength 6 with Catachan. They can't take orders because they're literally too dumb.
They're literally, that's the lore reason, right? They're literally too stupid to understand.
Anything you guys want to say about Ogrins?
So I'm just trying to compare this to like, I don't know. So I've been playing more Tyranids lately. So I'm comparing this to like a Tyranid warrior who it's a comparable point cost, and they also rely on having 3 wounds, but they have a 4-up save. They only have a toughness of 4 instead of a 5. So it's another one of those high toughness, high wounds to make up for the low save. And what I've learned from playing with that is I don't think that's really good enough.
No.
So, I don't know. And it, like Tyranid warriors at least can shoot decently well. Because they have you're taking like a venom cannon on it, or a not a devourer, death spitter that's like strength 5 AP -1 3 shots, but has a long range too. So I think just to go back to compare the strength of the weapon to the body it's on. 5, this guy's at his best probably in melee, and 3 attack, strength 5, weapon skill 3, or you're taking a Scion gunner that with a ballistic skill of 3, shooting a plasma at strength 8, AP -3, 2 damage. Like, it's like, I don't know, it for half the points it has more offensive output, and it's in the shooting phase when it's not going to get as easily hit back. The Ogrins need to be slogging their way across the field and taking fire with only a 5-up save before they can, really get in there and do damage. And I think at that point it might be too late.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that, before I get into the Bulgarians, the only thing that Ogrins have over them is the Ripper gun is a little bit better than the ranged option for the Bulgarin. But you don't want to take these guys to be like a ranged shooter. In every other like facet, the Bulgarian is better. So if you have in a team that can take like 8 plasma, you're not picking up a Bulgarian or an Ogre, I'm sorry, to increase your shooting power. It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll move on to the Bulgarian then. I love the Bulgarian, but it's worth pointing out it's 37 points base before you kit it out, which you're going to want to kit it out. Then the Bonet, the Bulgarian Bonet, is 38 points, so an additional one. It's got the same data sheet, except they have a 4-up save instead of a 5-up. They're armed with a Grenadier Gauntlet, frag bombs, and a Slab Shield. So first thing, the Grenadier Gauntlet, this is the ranged weapon I was talking about. It's 12-inch assault D6, strength 4, 0 AP, 1 damage. This sucks.
So it's assault 1. Is what you're telling me.
Yeah. And it's not auto hitting or anything, so it's actually assault D6. It's not good. The frag bombs, I talked about that already. Slab Shield. Now this is where it starts to see a difference before you even get into what else you can kit them out with. Slab Shield gives them a 4-up, it gives them a you add 2 to saving throws made against attacks that target a model with a Slab Shield. Now a Slab Shield is 3 points to take on them. So a Bulgarian, and this is including like obviously the points cost. So it's like you're actually saving points if you take the alternative, which is a Brute Shield. You can replace your Slab Shield with a Brute Shield, which instead of adding 2, which basically makes them have a 2-up save with no invuln, a Brute Shield is just a flat 4-up invuln, which a lot of the time is going to be better. And a Brute Shield is 0 points. So the Bulgarian base, when it comes to the Slab Shield, is 40 points. You drop that and it's 37. And then you can replace the Grenadier Gauntlet, that crappy weapon we were just talking about, with a Bulgarian Maul, which is just a melee weapon. It's strength +2, so strength 7, AP 1, which is like a sweet spot, which we've talked about before. AP 1's pretty good. Flat 2 damage on a big model like this with 4-up invuln, 3 wounds, strength 5, toughness 5. And unlike a lot of other big models that cost a lot, these guys get 6-inch movement. It's not like a Terminator where they are sacrificing their movement to be big and strong. So I mean, if you drop the Slab Shield for a Brute Shield and you take a Bulgar Maul, it's 39 points.
Yeah. So
it's a steep investment, but I really like this model.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. Once it has a 4-up invul, it goes. It's a pretty decent matchup against plasma guns, because even if it manages to get through the 4-up invul, it can eat an overcharged plasma and not get to the injury roll because of the 3 wounds. Yeah. So I really like 3 wound models for that reason specifically.
Yeah. Not to mention an overcharged plasma still only wounds on 3s against a Bulgarian.
Yeah,
toughness 5.
Yeah. I don't know if it's enough of a reason to take them instead of like 3 Scions, because I guess with 3 Scions, one of them could still die to an overcharged plasma when you have 2 more shooters.
It's definitely matchup dependent and format dependent.
Yeah, well, definitely format dependent. In Killhold lately, I've been running a Catachan list, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And I have a veteran Bulgarian with the Brute Shield and the Maul, who I have been straight up running like every game that I run this list. The nice thing about having a really expensive model like this is, or on a faction like Guard, is that Guard have a lot of other models that are pretty cheap. So taking a Bulgarian doesn't mean that you're going to have like 5 models. Like say when you take like a Terminator for Astartes, if you take a Terminator, you're probably only going to run like 4 or 5 models, maybe 6.
Yeah.
But you can take a Bulgarian and still have like clock out at around like that mid-range, like 9 to 12 models maybe. And yeah, I mean, 2 damage flat's amazing. This guy can get in your face turn 1 with a vet move charge and be basically almost impossible to kill while being able to basically like deal a lot of damage out with that damage to Bulgarian Maul. I'm a huge fan of it personally. And they have that avalanche of muscle ability. So like if you have a Bulgarian Bonet and he charges, he gets 5 attacks with that Bulgarian Maul. So that's pretty crazy.
What sort of specialisms can they take? Combat, I assume. Can they also take Zealot? Or...
Well, technically you can make a Bonet a leader. I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah.
And if you do this, by the way, this is disastrous because Bulgarians, not only are they too dumb to take orders, they're also too dumb to give orders. They don't have the voice of command ability. Do not make a Bulgarian or an Ogre your leader. But yeah, they can be a combat. They can be a demo. Don't do that either. They can be a heavy. Don't do that either. Or they can be a veteran. My favorite is veteran because these guys don't really need more attacks. They already have 3 base. The Bonet has 4, and they have avalanche and muscle.
Avalanche, yeah.
But the veteran is awesome. You can vet move a Bulgarian into like way up the board, and suddenly you have this hulking like raid boss that your opponent has to deal with. I'm a big fan of it. But is there anything else you guys want to say about the Bulgarian?
I don't think so. Just
but yeah.
yeah, just the opportunity cost of taking a 37 or 40 model when you have can be swarming or using Scions with those sweet weapons or whatever. But yeah, I mean it's an awesome model. So just got to look at what else is happening in the packet and what else is happening on your team and make sure that it's not such a sweet model that it just has a big bullseye on its head. You got to have make them kind of present multiple threats so that they have to kind of split their attention and not be able to just focus this guy down and then leave yourself with nothing else. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we should talk about some of the most important models for Guard that you can't find in the Elites book or the core manual, and that is the Blackstone Fortress guys,
right?
And girls. So, I mean, Gottfried's the obvious one that we want to start with. Do you guys want to talk about him? Should I?
I'll talk about Gottfried.
Right.
I got his data sheet right in front of me. So we can, maybe you guys might disagree with me, but I think the core model to any good Imperial Guard or Astra Militarum roster is this model right here, and that's Gottfried de Montbard. He is a advisor, so he's not affected by the voice of command ability. His movement is 6, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 4, strength 3, toughness 3, 3 wounds, 4 attacks, leadership 8, 4 up save, and he is equipped with a power sword. So strength 3, AP 3, 1 damage. He also has a storm shield, so he's got that 3 up invuln, which paired with the 3 wounds that he comes with for some reason is very nice.
Yeah.
And then he has hacking advance as one of his abilities. So Each unmodified hit roll of 6 made for his attacks in the fight phase scored 2 hits instead of 1. Then he also has Expert Fighter because he counts as a combat specialist, so he gets an extra attack. So in reality, he's got 5 attacks with exploding 6s.
Yeah.
And he's a beast.
Yeah.
Man.
The most important part that you left out, he's only 20 points.
Oh, yes. How could I forget? I've said it so many times on this podcast and on our channel that it's just...
And he gets Catachan, so you can get him up to strength 4.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually used to be even more broken because they actually had to fix it. He used to be able to take orders. So he could like fix bayonets with Gottfried.
Oh, man.
Yeah, this is the dumb. Okay, so
what a time it was.
You're never gonna make like those combat guys I was talking about, like the Tempesture or like the Bulgarian Bonet. This is the reason you're not gonna make them a combat.
Yeah,
that's because you're gonna have Gottfried in your team at all times. And he is a combat spec
at all times.
Yeah, I don't think. I mean, there is never a time, in my opinion, where you should not have Gottfried in your list.
No.
He is so good at everything. Like, well, not everything, but he's good against everything.
Yeah, he's great for Catachans because obviously he becomes strength 4 and he's just a melee powerhouse, so he synergizes really well with that faction. But also he works well with Gunline Guard just because he's just a body that can either intercept close combat models that are coming the way, or he can sit on an objective that's being swarmed by other models and just tank and tank and tank.
Yeah.
He can advance forward ahead of your 1 wound guys, soak up psychic attacks. He's so versatile and he's so cheap, man. You can't not take him.
Yeah, that list that I was telling you about, it has Gottfried and that Bulgarian guy with the brute shield. Like throwing those 2 guys at your opponent, it's just
threat saturation.
Yeah. What do you even do about those 2 guys?
Like, do you even want to invest it? There's many times that I've faced Gottfried. I'm like, I don't even know if I want to like sink attacks into this guy because it just doesn't seem efficient. But he's on this point and he's so deadly. It's like, it's just so hard to justify killing him sometimes, but he's so good. It's just he works very well with threat saturation.
Really gross model.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Sean, you got any special thoughts on Gottfried you want to share?
No. They need to FAQ the points. Not FAQ. Errata the points. But,
yeah.
Yeah. 20 points.
What would you guys
points.
Here's a little experiment. What do you think he should cost?
Oh man. I want to say 35.
Nah.
35. I would say 30.
Yeah.
So
it might just be a knee-jerk reaction as an Astartes player, just because it's like.
So we need to throw GW a bone here and understand that they need to price him low enough so that people will buy the box that he comes in. Because it's not was it Blackstone Fortress, right? So
yeah,
you need to buy like an expansion for a game that you might not play to get this model. So I kind of think that's part of why he's so cheap. They want it to be appealing enough that people go buy that box. And I'm sorry to be like that, but they are
no,
a
it's fair
model.
point.
They're a business, and they are a model making company first and a game company second. So they need to give people a reason. They need to entice you to buy these extra boxes of models. So, yeah, 25.
You're not wrong.
Still cheap. 25.
Yeah. Probably still underpriced at that. Gottfried's great. We want to talk about Pius Mora next.
Yeah, you have more experience with her than I think either the two of us. You want to?
Yeah, sure. Pius Vorn is a little more situational than Gottfried. She's 15 points, if I'm not mistaken. She basically has 2 wounds. She's strength 3, toughness 3, and she has I forget what the exact, like the Vindicator or something. It's a heavy flamer, but it's got an assault profile. So it's a strength 5 AP -1 flamer. And it also has a melee profile that is strength +1 AP -1 damage. But she is kind of like how Gottfried is a combat retainer. She is a zealot retainer. So she is always a zealot specialist. So when you charge, you're actually getting to like strength 5. And she also benefits from Catachan. So you can get her to strength 4 like natively, and then charge and get to strength 5, and then your weapon gets you to strength 6. So already she's a very good model against chaff units because she's got that heavy flamer. But with the combination of Catachan and that flamer together, she's really good against hordes because she gets to strength 6, and that, which is like a sweet spot against the T3 weaker models. She doesn't have an armor save, but she does have a feel no pain, a 5-up feel no pain, which is, I mean, it's still, with 2 wounds, it keeps her kind of survivable. You just need to kind of pick and choose the moments when you're going to run Pius. It's not like Gottfried where it's an auto take.
Yeah.
Because she can be kind of a trap sometimes. And Ryan, is it 3 attacks that she has? I think you have the data sheet pulled up.
She does have 3 attacks.
So 4 with that zealot
so 4
ability.
at strength 6.
Oh, and also worth noting, when she charges, she gets a separate zealot ability where she re-rolls all failed hits.
Yeah.
Pretty strong.
Yeah.
Don't take her every single time.
Yeah, you got to be a lot more careful with her, just because she's a lot more fragile than Gottfried, despite having those 2 wounds. Her Vindicator, I want to talk about it a little bit. It's a 8-inch assault D6 flamer at strength 5, AP 1 damage, like you mentioned before, I think. But if it is shooting a chaos model, you roll 2d6 to determine the number of attacks made with this weapon and discard the lowest result. So that's a nice little buff against chaos factions.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I love a good heavy flamer. They're so good.
Especially when it's an assault.
Especially when it's not a heavy flamer.
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say.
Yeah,
Basically, it's a heavy flamer, but better.
Yeah, I mean, the incinerator for Grey Knights has become one of my favorite weapons for that reason. And because it fixes a lot of the problems that, regular flamers might have. It's still a damage 1 weapon, but going up to strength 5 is so big, and AP -1 is awesome too. So put that on a 15-point model. I dig that.
With two wounds and like pretty good combat ability.
Yeah,
she's really good. She's like a Swiss Army knife kind of. She can do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, like we said, she benefits from Catachan. So yeah. And then the next models, although they're kind of like one model weirdly because you have to take them together, but they are separate models, and that's Ryan and Rouse. I love Ryan and Rouse. I know they aren't like, they haven't really been as explored competitively in my opinion compared to Gottfried and Pius, who are like, who've got pretty good pedigrees in competitive play. But I think Ryan and Rouse are just as good, but in very different ways. Well, maybe not just as good as Gottfried, but just as good as Pius, but in different ways.
Yeah.
Ryan, do you want to look at that
sure
data sheet for us?
Okay, so I'm going to go through Ryan first, and then I'll go through Rouse. So Ryan has 6-inch movement, despite the fact that he's only like 3 or 4 feet tall. He can move as fast as a normal person. Weapon skill is 5-up. Ballistic skill is 2-up. Strength 2, toughness 2, 2 wounds, 1 attack, leadership 6, 6-up save. He's equipped with a sniper rifle, so 36-inch range, heavy 1, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. Normal sniper rifle stuff.
And then on the 6, you get the mortal.
On the roll of a 6-up, you get the mortal wound, and then you ignore any long-range penalties. Also has a stub pistol, 9-inch range, pistol 1, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. So like his weapons are not that great. His base stat line is also not that great. Besides his prototypical movement for a man of his stature.
And the movement gets crazier.
Yes, yeah, that's where I'm getting at, is his special abilities. So he has marksman, where he can reroll hit rolls of 1 for this sniper. He counts as a sniper specialist. Naturally stealthy. When an opponent makes a hit roll for a shooting attack that targets Ryan or Rouse, and the target model is obscured, that hit roll suffers an additional -1.
So camo cloak.
Camo cloak, yeah. Shoop, Shart, and Scamper. I feel like that must have been they must have messed up the spelling there. Immediately make a shooting attack with Rhine or Rouse other than firing Overwatch. The firing model can move as if it were the movement phase, though it cannot advance as part of this move. So they basically were just born with the Eldar tactic, fire and fade, grafted into their DNA.
Yeah, they get it for free.
Yeah.
And also, yeah.
So they can move 6, shoot. Who cares if I shoot or not? I can move another 6 inches and hop on an objective for free. Hell yeah.
Also, so there is an argument to be made because it doesn't say normal move, does it? It just says you can't advance.
Oh,
It
move
just says can
as
move,
if it were
yeah.
the movement phase.
So rules as written, there is an argument to be made that they can charge with that move.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say normal move, and it
Yeah.
specifically says you can't advance.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
So that's like a pretty interesting. I mean, it's not too often you're going to actually want to get in combat with these models because you look at them and they die.
Yeah.
But
I could see instances of like cycle charging a certain model that I don't want moving off a point, setting up a charge for a Bulgarian model or a charge from Gottfried.
if there's like a really
Pius.
weak like gunner in front of you that only has one attack, you can shut down their shooting by charging them, and they only have one attack. In this instance, like a lot of gunners do, and Ryan
Probably
and Rouse
only does 1 damage, and they both got 2 wounds.
Ryan and Rouse, for no reason, have 2
for
wounds.
no reason. Half the size, double the fortitude, man.
So.
I don't know what to tell you.
And then Rouse.
Yeah. So Rouse's stat line is 6-inch movement, 5 up weapon skill, 2 up ballistic skill, 2 strength, 2 toughness, 2 wounds, 1 attack, 6 leadership, 6 up save. Rouse is armed with a demo charge, which has a 6-inch range. It's a grenade weapon. Grenade D6, strength 8, very nice. AP 3, also very nice. D3 damage. Okay.
And you can only use it once per game, but
you can only use it once per game.
It is the best grenade
in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On a 2-up ballistic skill.
Yeah.
That's right.
So even if you roll a 1 on your grenade D6, you are still hitting on 2s, probably wounding on 2s, AP minus 3 D3 damage. Like
this weapon can one-shot anything in the game right now.
Pretty much, unless you have like a really good, like your Gottfried.
Yeah, like barring commanders, but grenade D6, and like if it gets down to it, each one of those D6s is doing D3 damage.
Yeah,
split shots. Just like
ooh, splitting shots. Ooh,
maybe you can outflank Rouse or something, and I mean it's pretty crazy, but
surprise.
And then he has like a stub.
Yeah, he's got the stub pistol, which I had already.
How long is the range on that?
It's only 9 inches.
Demo charge?
Stub pistol? No, stub pistol.
Oh, demo charge is 6. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, 9 inches isn't great, obviously, but it's long enough where he can usually get a shot on something, so that way he can use his free fire and fade to move around with Ryan. And he's got that grapnel hook thing. So
so the grapnel hook, Rouse can climb any distance vertically, up or down. When he makes a normal move, do not measure the distance moved in this way. And then he also has another ability that is a buff for Ryan, basically, where he acts as like his spotter. So you can reroll failed hit and wound rolls when shooting with Ryan's sniper rifle if the target is also visible to Rouse.
Yeah.
So that ups the efficiency quite a bit.
I love
that sniper rifle.
It's like
it's another chance to roll a 6. Man.
Yeah, that's the best part about it is like Ryan is probably hitting on like a 3 or 4 maybe at worst. And when you have a mortal wound on a 6 wound roll, and you're re-rolling your wound rolls, that's basically, like you said, it's another chance to get that 6. So suddenly a sniper rifle, which is kind of an underwhelming weapon in Kill Team, Ryan, when he's using it, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, those guys are very tricky.
And then he is, he's got the naturally stealthy ability. He's got the shoot sharp and scarper. I'm convinced someone just fat-fingered an R instead of typing an M. I think it should read shoot sharp and scamper. Makes a lot more sense. They're ratlings. What do rats do? They scamper, man.
But anyway. I mean, just the utility that these guys bring, it is like really interesting. The ability to like take a shot at some guy and then move before that guy can shoot back at you, and like move on to an objective, or like, I don't know. There's just so much stuff you can do with Ryan and Rouse. Like they're not like Oh, and their points cost, I believe they're 9 and 10.
So
18,
8 and 10. Yeah.
Ryan is
8 and 10.
Ryan is 8.
So, I mean, those guys are, you have to take them together, by the way. You can't just take Rouse or you can't just take Ryan on their own.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bringing one, you have to bring the other. So
Yeah.
it's basically, think of it as an 18-point model. I mean, there's a lot you can do with them.
Yeah.
They're not like really strong in the sense that like you're looking at Gottfried, who like will never die and he can kill you. But Ryan and Rouse are really good in more subtle ways, I think.
Yeah. I even like just like looking at these guys with like the Rouse's ability to ignore vertical movement and their re-rolling hits and demo charges and all that other stuff. It's great on open. I like these guys on arena as well, actually, just because of all their sort of movement shenanigans. It's like one of them pops up with the stub pistol, just fires a shot, and then they can just move onto another objective or something.
Yeah.
And it makes those demo charges much better.
They are the models.
Yeah.
They are so short that they can effectively hide behind some of the crates on arena and be completely out of line of sight, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
Yeah, they are shorter than a lot of scatter terrain, which is like another thing that doesn't show up on a data sheet. Like that's not on paper. That's something
to consider.
Yeah, when you're playing them, or
Yeah.
if you're running a Bulgarian, it is extremely easy to completely hide one of Ryan or Rouse behind a Bulgarian.
Yeah.
Out of line of sight completely. I've done it before.
Yeah.
It's pretty funny.
I think that's what I wound up doing on arena one time, was hiding behind a pile of crates, and they were just able to sit on that objective.
Yeah.
Completely unexposed from either of the enemy gunners that were coming down the way towards them.
Yeah, and I mean, we were talking earlier about how Guard loves like action economy, and they have just such an amazing repertoire. Ryan and Rouse like adds so much to that. On top of your orders and your crazy stuff. Like, yeah. Also, Ryan and Rouse don't benefit from subfactions because they actually have one of those keywords that prevents them from getting it, and they also can't take orders because, yeah. But still,
yeah, they're great.
Very, very strong.
They're definitely not an auto take, though.
Probably not. I love them enough that I would take them all the time anyway. But
yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess. Yeah. Sean, did you have any other thoughts on Ryan and Rouse?
No, kind of a meme, but not really. They're just kind of ridiculous to see them out on the table, but
yeah,
certainly have a lot of potential in them.
Yeah. When I first saw them, I was like, okay, they're kind of cute. They can do some stuff. Their weapons are unique, got some unique abilities, but no, they're good.
Yeah, the more you use them,
this is not a meme. Ryan and Rouse they're great models.
For me, the more I use them, the more high on them I become. Or I'm like, oh my goodness, these guys are so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess, do we want to talk about like matchups and stuff and how they stack up in like the formats, like competitive formats? Guard, not Ryan and Rouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's weird because there's a million ways to play them. It feels like.
Yeah. I guess I mostly play Astartes, so I don't really know where we want to start with this conversation, so I'm just going to go into it. Because they're so reliant on their shooting, even if they are like Catachans are great. The roster that you have is fantastic in close combat. So like barring that, like probably most Imperial Guard kill teams that you're going to run into are mostly going to be shooting, right?
Yeah.
So because they're so reliant upon shooting, there are certain skew lists that can completely shut down and negate your shooting just by like having like a bunch of models charge into your shooting guys from either outside line of sight, or they just are able to get in there for whatever reason. Things like Asuryani Banshees, where you can't fire Overwatch on them no matter what. Charging you would get you in trouble. The Black Templars list that you've been running on Arena would be great against Shooting Guard because all your guys have Storm Shield, so that negates their high AP weapons that they can bring. And once you get stuck in with Black Templars as a toughness 3 model, like good luck, man.
Yeah.
So that's definitely their weakness. I think they're still vulnerable. Shooting Guard is very vulnerable to close combat oriented armies and skew lists that are designed to kill things in close combat.
Yeah.
Strengths.
Well, there's the classic plasma spam guard,
Yeah.
which is I think what everybody thinks about when they think of guard and like
Yeah.
competitive kill team is they think back to like Elliot Miller and like the plasma spam that won like the first LVO.
Yeah.
At the time, that was like the perfect answer in the meta to what was dominating, which was Death Guard,
Yeah.
like Marine equivalents.
I
mean,
so
we haven't
current
seen,
strengths.
Yeah, we haven't seen a lot of like guard players lately, like the traditional like Talarn, like shooty guard lists. I mean, there's been Tom Larshell and his like Catachans, but
yeah, I'm not even sure if we've seen like a Talarn list like run like successfully before. Because when you think about it, the meta kind of went from like 100 points to elites, and it kind of felt like the Talarn was the list, and I don't know if there were just no tournaments happening at the time.
I think when that plasma spam list won, I don't even think elites was out yet.
No,
so
it
there
wasn't.
was no Talarn.
Yeah, it was still 100 points plasma spam. Yeah.
Yeah, and when you look at the move to elites, because the Ogrins and Bulgarians aren't seen as favorably as some of the other like options in the elite book, I think people just kind of discarded Militarum in general. Then it's like, well, they kind of lost in this book, so let's move on to something else. Or even if it wasn't a conscious thought like that, it's like, ooh, shiny, and everybody just flocked to other factions that got cool stuff in the new book, and went to 125, which beyond just unlocking new units in the new book, it made maybe some overpriced other models, more viable. I guess that kind of happened in two stages, right? The first stage was adding elites at 100, and the second stage was upping it to 125. So
I wouldn't even go so far as to say that there was a third stage, which was when the data sheet for Godfrey got released.
True. Yeah.
Because then it was like, oh, everybody's looking at Catachans now, like, whoo, man, I'm gonna run Guard, I'm gonna run Catachans, so that this roided out warrior monk is just an absolute beast.
Yeah.
And
then around the same time, or I guess maybe a little bit later, we made the switch from hold to kill more, hold more. So a lot of the kind of durability that Guard gets is in numbers. Being toughness 3. 5-up armor save, or 4-up if you go at Scions, but without some of the other built-in defensive mechanisms that some of the other toughness 3 factions have. You just kind of rely on maybe fighting from range and just saying, okay, I'm going to die. But then as soon as you start awarding points for killing, that is not as solid a plan, and in certain packets when it's so easy to stack secondaries for killing too, it makes it a little bit less appealing to take a squishy 5-point Guardsman without some of those other defensive mechanisms. So I don't know, but that doesn't mean that there's not a place for them to come back. It's just kind of need to reimagine what they can do. And put a little extra time into preparing.
Yeah, I'm hard pressed to think of a faction that like has Guard's number. I feel like they have enough of a answer to most factions.
They just have so many tools that they can use. And I think we haven't even really touched the surface of how good they can be in the current format.
Yeah.
I do think they're good enough to be at that top table.
Yeah.
I just don't think we're seeing a lot of players right now.
Mm-hmm.
And even before like LVO back in January, you had a lot of people saying beforehand they wouldn't be surprised if Guard was like a top 8 team.
Mm-hmm.
And there didn't end up being a guard player in top 8.
Yeah.
And people were kind of surprised by that. But I think the potential is obviously there. I mean, a lot of people are kind of high on guard, but we're just waiting to see that manifest into something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, do we want to go ahead and talk about your Catachan roster now, Shane?
Sure. I love this roster. This is like one of my favorite things to play in Kill Team, and it doesn't even really feel like you're playing guard. It feels like you're playing like Blackstone Fortress, like if it was like a faction.
Yeah.
And you just have like these other human guys like
Yeah, no,
supplementing it.
when this roster was made, I think I joked and talked about how it's just Godfrey and friends,
Yeah.
and then it became Blackstone Fortress and friends.
Yeah. So I don't think there's anybody else really running anything like this. I'm pretty sure I was the first person to come up with this, and it's weird enough that I feel pretty confident saying that.
Okay.
So here, I'll just break down what like the core list is, and then I'll explain what you can sub in and out. So you have that special weapon guardsman leader, the weak guy that can give orders. You're not missing out on anything by having this guy be the one to do it. And you have a whole bunch of specialists. And the reason you're able to take a whole bunch of specialists is because Gottfried and Pius and Ryan rather, they're not specialists, they're specialist retainers. So like Gottfried, for instance, he's a combat retainer. He doesn't count towards your max number of 3 specialists, but you just can't take another combat. So the specialists that I'll usually take are the Bulgarian Bonet, who is the veteran specialist, and he has the brute shield and the Bulgarian Maul. With him, I'll take like a Scion gunner, who is basically like his specialism can slot in and out depending on what weapon he's taking. Like if he's bringing a flamer, I would probably, well, if he's taking a flamer, there's a chance that I would just run a regular guardsman because
Yeah, right. Because
the ballistic skill, yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
You basically end up saving 5 points. And then you take him as a demo, for instance. But like say you take the hotshot volley gun and you make him a heavy. It's 13 points. Next, I like to take the Tempesture as a medic specialist because rules as written, a medic can stim shot themselves. And there's a lot of guys on this list that are very good candidates for that 1 CP medic tactic. For those of you that don't know, the medic tactic it's 1 CP. You choose a model within 2 inches. It doesn't say another model, so rules as written, you can stim shot yourself. And that model is +1 to charge rolls and +1 to their attacks characteristic until the end of the battle, or until the end of the battle round, rather. And I kit that Tempesture out with a plasma pistol and a power fist. And the retainers, I take Gottfried, and in this list I have Ryan or Rouse, Ryan and Rouse rather. And in the event that I'm against like a team where I'd rather have like a heavy flamer, I could hypothetically swap out the Scion gunner for Pius Vorn, and she's a zealot specialist in that instance. And then I'll have a few non-specialists, which are basically Rouse, a sergeant with the power sword. So with Catachan, you have the potential for those 4 attacks at strength 4, AP 3. And then I'll bring another special weapons gunner with whatever the matchup decides. So you might be thinking, that's not a lot of models for a guard team. Yeah, there's only like 9 models on this list. But you have a Bulgarian who has 3 wounds. You have Gottfried who has 3 wounds. You have Ryan and Rouse who each have 2 wounds. You might have Pius with 2 wounds. And you have these guys that can just make all sorts of like extra moves around the battlefield, whether it's with orders or you're talking about Ryan and Rouse, or there's a bunch of ways to do this. And what this team ends up feeling like is kind of like Eldar.
Yeah,
it sort of feels like you're playing Eldar, but with some beefier units. And might have like a few less bodies. But a nice thing about this is, say you're taking this on a command roster, comparatively like a plasma spam, like guardsman spam style thing, you don't have that much room for flexibility because your main list is taking up most of your roster. On a list like this with 9 models, one, it really helps in the kill hold meta because there's less chaff guys that are giving away free kills essentially. And 2, there's a lot more flexibility on the roster, so you can swap out a hotshot volley gun for a flamer, or you can bring in Pius, and there's like a lot of different ways that you can do this. You can give your Tempesture and your sergeant a plasma pistol in addition to those weapons if you have 2 extra points spare. And my experience using this list is it's pretty good. You also get the hidden buff that half of the players in the community don't know what these like Ryan and Rouse's rules are.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I've had a lot of success with this list so far. I haven't taken it to like a competitive thing because in my opinion, it's like pretty high skill ceiling. It's like, I think it can be really good, but it's kind of hard to play.
Yeah, there's a lot
like
of moving
optimally.
parts for sure.
Yeah, there's so many moving parts.
Literally.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can give orders to the Tempesture, you can give orders to the gunners. That sergeant can take orders. There's a lot going on. There's actually only a few models that are benefiting from Catachan on this list.
Yeah.
But the ones that are like, it's so helpful, like Gottfried or Pius or the sergeant. I think it's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
You know, I've worked on this list for like months, so I'm pretty confident to like put it out there into the wild. And just everyone I've shown it to is like taken aback and like, whoa, what is this? And then they want to run it.
Well, just each model is
cool.
so unique. Like, how do you pin it down? And like, you really got to know what each one's job is and be able to, keep all the special rules straight and stuff. So yeah, it's wild.
I mean, yeah, like on a lot of packets, there's like domination, for instance, just as an example. You could take domination with this list and throw the Bulgarian and Gottfried into the middle, and no one's coming near those models. Nope. That's 3 free victory points, and they're really hard to shoot off the board. Yeah, it's stuff like that. In addition to like Ryan and Rouse and the Tempesture, who are kind of slippery themselves. It's if you ever want to play Eldar but with humans instead of Xenos,
those dirty Xenos.
Yeah, this is one of the closest things to Eldar that you can make, I think, outside of playing Eldar.
Yeah, that's funny.
And in some ways, I think they're better than Eldar because Eldar is known for having like a really good that action economy stuff, but Guard, it takes that to like another level.
Mm-hmm.
And they have these models that just do not die.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to talk a little bit about like what a normal Talarn roster might look like?
I mean, yeah, I guess. I kind of only started writing it literally right before we started recording, but
we can make one on the fly.
Yeah, sure. So I guess the leader would obviously just be the special weapons guardsman.
Yeah, I think it's always the best.
Yeah. And you have enough models that you're not worried about being outflanked turn 1.
Mm-hmm.
With Talarn, you're going to be able to just zone out your deployment in the immediate area surrounding it. So I've got 3 different specialists. Well, technically 4 different specialists. We've got a scout spec special weapons gunner with a melt-a-gun. So he's getting that reroll advance with the melt-a-gun. Just so, like, I thought about making him a demo, but I'm like,
oh, you don't need a demo on a Melta.
Yeah, you don't need a demo on a Melta. And if he's moving that fast anyway, chances are he's probably going to be able to get a good angle on a lot of models that aren't going to be obscured to him. So why waste the slot? Next is a special weapons gunner with a plasma gun. He's a sniper specialist. It's just the thing to do. Same thing with the demo spec. I've got a demo spec. I've got 2 demo specs so far. So
on the roster,
yeah, on the roster. One has a flamer just because it's the thing to do. And then the next is just a plasma gun, just a plasma gunner.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Can't hurt with the take aim order where he's going to be re-rolling the ones, So 3 specialist retainers: Gottfried, Pius, Ryan, and Rouse.
Yeah, and obviously if you're taking Ryan, you can't take that plasma sniper, but that's why you have all these different options for gunners.
Yeah. For a non-specialist, I have another guardsman gunner, and he has a plasma gun just to take it, and that's what we got for now.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking about
so many different guns and combinations.
Yeah, it's really I feel like the core rulebook and the elites book are my oyster, with how spoiled I am with the number of models and the variety of ways they can be kitted out. And then also fielded. So like Astartes, they have so many different kinds of models, but you're just limited because each one is so expensive. But with Guard, it's just, you can just take 20 guys and it's just like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, they can do some pretty crazy stuff with gunners. Like, including Pius, you could have like 9 flamers on a list.
Yeah.
I mean, how crazy is that?
Yeah.
I mean, not too many, like, there's not that many mad lads out there that are going to run 9 flamers, but I mean, if you're running like Tyranids or something and you sit down across from the dude who happened to bring 9 flamer Imperial Guard, although to be fair, with Talarn, you're not flamers, you're not getting anything.
Yeah, you're not getting anything from it. It's still good to take them against hordes and stuff. Like I would put three guys on here, 3 gunners with flamers.
Yeah.
And then have a 4th flamer who's a demo spec if I come against, God forbid, like a Tyranid swarm or
what year is it?
What? Yeah, it was 2018. Come on.
Do we?
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, is there also any value in going like full on, like plasma spam, without even worrying about the rerolling ones? Like not even take Ryan and Rouse, so that you could have the plasma sniper and, you know, get up into that half range real quick and go just full on weak bodies. Because you can, you know, because that way you're taking more advantage of the positional nature of it too. Once you get more bodies, and you don't have to overcharge everything too. If you're putting that many, you know, figure if you're advancing up, that's 2. You're more likely to be getting within short range for rapid fire. You don't have to supercharge. So that's each body, you know, that can be a 8-point body doing 2 strength 7 AP -3 shots. After an advance, hitting on 4s. Like that's pretty.
I think actually, I mean, obviously we don't have the footage or anything, but I'm sure there's people we can ask. I'm pretty sure that original like crazy plasma spam guards list, I think that's what Ellie Miller was doing. He was just overcharging with everybody because, I mean, you have so many guys.
You lose one, guns. Who cares?
Yeah, it's like an 8-point model in your 20-man list,
and the shot still goes off.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, you can still finish
to shoot. So
yeah, so if you're just talking about trading at that point too, because if the shot goes off, like sure, I'll take out your Primaris model, your, you know, whatever 20-point model with my 8-point model, you know, and you just don't care. And that could be like the, you know, throwback, not going with this all this Blackstone Fortress, playing other game and calling it Kill Team.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's I mean, like back in the hold days, you could probably just do like the 8 plasma and then just fill out with 5-point guardsmen. Mm-hmm. But nowadays with like 125 and kill hold, you can have those 8 plasma and then like frontline them with like some beefier guys like Gottfried maybe. I don't know exactly how the points come out, but like instead of having just pure bodies, you know, have a couple strong guys that can protect your plasma and stay in between that gun line.
Yeah. So figure, let's do it real quick. So it's like 8. So for the special weapon squad and regular guardsmen, you can have 4 plasmas there at 8 points each. It's 32 points for 4 plasma guns. 4 sign gunners with plasmas, that would be 13 points. So that's 52. So that's 84 points.
So you have like 41 points left to basically spend on. So 20 of them are going to Gottfried, obviously. Yeah. So just throw another 20 on there. And then you have 21 points left that you can just...
So do 5 points for your leader.
The sergeant. Oh, yeah. 5 points for the leader. Mm-hmm. And then how about like... You could throw like a Tempesture in there with the Power Fist for 12 points. And you've got 121. I mean, give him a plasma pistol, 122. Yeah, I mean...
3 points left. Anybody got a Voxcaster?
That's like how much is a Voxcaster?
It's either like a point or it's free, I think. Or it might be 5 points.
I might be...
For some reason, I think it's 5 points.
Oh, it's 5 points.
Yeah. Okay, so no Voxcaster, but 122 points is fine.
Yeah.
For what you're getting.
Even without the Voxcaster? I mean, yeah, because you got Godfrey. You don't got to worry about breaking.
That list has like
really.
11 or 12 bodies, 8 of which have plasma guns, and the other ones are like either your leader or a strong guy.
Or they don't die. Yeah.
Or they're a Swiss Army knife like your Tempesture. But
yeah.
And he's got plasma too, so you've got you've got 9 plasmas. It's just one of them's a pistol.
Yeah.
Because figure if you're doing 6-inch base move plus an advance on all those guys, you know, that's probably going to be getting you within 12 inches against most models. So then your ballistic skill still going to be 4 for the Guardsman, still going to be 3 for the Scions. So figure, let's assume cover. 16 plasma shots going in, hitting on 4s or 5s.
Yeah. Or you can replace those 8 plasmas for the same cost with 8 meltas. One of them's gonna hit.
And with Talarn, I think it's viable.
Hey man,
I think it's viable.
You get like 3 hits out of those 8 shots. Hey, that's probably 3 dead models.
It's money, baby. It's money. Yeah, no. I've just added and plugged in and taken out a few different models for the Talarn list. So now it's a Scion Gunner sniper spec with a Plasma Gunner just for the increased efficiency, as opposed to the regular Guardsman sniper spec with the Plasma Gun. Scout Gunner heavy spec with a hotshot volley gun.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's also a Scion Gunner demo spec with the hotshot volley gun. The thought there is I can just set him up kind of like overwatching an objective and then just keep readying him up. So any enemy models that come within range of a certain area, he'll be able to get effective shots on target and have a stronger chance of wounding them. And then the scout, the Talarn, just the standard Guardsman scout spec with the melta gun is so good. Just from that movement. And then the demo flamer. And then I also dropped in 2 Scion Gunners with melta gun just for the deep strike threat.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That is scary.
This might be telegraphing a little bit, but if you see me put 3 Scion Gunners armed with melta guns in reserve, you should probably screen out your backfield.
Yeah. I mean, any other like list ideas that come to mind? Like, there's only so much that you can do. No matter how much I think I cannot justify taking an Ogre. I cannot.
No,
do it. They're so bad.
It just doesn't make sense.
Bulgarins, yes, I love that guy, but I don't know.
If they had an invuln,
yeah,
and they were still around their same points cost, then yeah, but they don't. So they just die fast.
Yeah. By the time you take like Godfrey and your heavy weapons, it's like, even if you don't max out on heavy weapons, to take enough to make up for the weakness of their normal weapons and bodies, it's like it just becomes hard to justify.
If you're saving points for another big guy, you might as well make it a Bulgarin.
Yeah. I mean, if you're playing Kill Team and all you have is Ogren, I would run Ogren.
If you have no other choice, it's possible.
If you have no other choice.
I would take Ogren for fun because those are really funny looking models.
Yeah.
They're so funny.
I kind of want to take one and convert it so that it looks like Shrek.
Oh my God. Okay. So, any final hot takes on Guard before we wrap this deep dive up?
I thought I was done buying models. I thought I was done, but I think
it's never done.
Yeah, but
you do have a lot of Astartes.
I have so much. Yeah, I have a lot of Astartes, but I don't have a lot of Astartes that I would run right now.
Yeah, fair.
It's the only issue. At least in Kill Team.
Yeah. All right, I got a hot take.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the new LVO just dropped. The new LVO 2021 packet just came out. It's if you guys haven't seen it yet, check it out. I mean, we can throw a link in the description. In that pack, that's like, it's 3 CP per turn. I mentioned it earlier a little bit. My hot take is I think that Imperial Guard are the single best faction on that packet.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So they've got 30-man command rosters with this packet.
No, that's just
Is
you're
that
thinking of
something
SoCal.
else? Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I think the Guard are the best faction on that packet. Number 1 for me.
So like besides the previous 2 hours of conversation, why do you say that?
I think that they benefit from 3 CP a turn more than anybody.
Yeah.
I think that
Even
the-
Astartes?
Can you really say
Well,
that? Yeah. With
maybe
Death Denied being
maybe other than Astartes, but I think like with the way that you can run them with not okay, I should really clarify on this. I do not think that Shooty Guard is the best thing on
Okay.
I don't think the Shooty anything is the best on that map for anyone that's looked at it. But I think a Catachan list, kind of similar to what I was talking about. I might not have it down perfect. Maybe somebody can come up with something better along that vein, though. I think that they can do so much with 3 CP per turn and with just all the options that they have and the things that they're able to do.
Yeah.
And on an open board, so I mean those Scions are a serious threat even on a Catachan team.
Yeah.
I think they're very, very good.
Yeah, no, I'm just thinking about that center of the board is basically where all the terrain is.
Yeah.
So just thinking of your Catachan list and all the really good melee models that are in it, and the things like orders that they can use to just like benefit, to just draw more attacks of opportunity, I guess, with the fixed bayonets and stuff like that. Yeah, they're looking nice. They're looking nice for that packet for sure.
Yeah, I that's just my opinion. Everybody can look at the LVO packet and come to their own conclusions, but I think the secondaries really suit them. I think the format really suits them. I think the map is really good for them too. I generally think that they are better on an open board than on arena. Yeah, I would say that other than Adeptus Astartes, they probably benefit the most from 3 CP. But Astartes, I think, are better on arena than they are on open. Whereas I think that Guard can do really well on open. I just think this packet, to me, like when I was looking at it, I was thinking this is like the perfect storm for Imperial Guard to just like crush on this packet. I don't know. I mean, if people can look at it themselves and try it. I mean, there's Tabletop Simulator. The map is up there on our Discord under TTS tools. You can go on and there's plenty of people that want to play games. Yeah. Any other hot takes? I mean, any comments on that hot take? I guess
No, not from me personally.
No, yeah, I can buy that.
I think they're good, man. I think they would have been great in BAO. But not to this level.
Yeah, and I think it depends on who takes them too. You know.
Oh yeah,
for pilot skill. Yeah, they're not an easy team to play.
No. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Eldar like that, where people say that Eldar are very, very good, but they're not like a brain-dead faction where anybody can pick them up and just immediately do well with them.
Yeah.
I think that Guard is very similar to that. There's a lot of moving pieces.
Yeah, no, and the thing you said about the Scions even being good on that Catachan list for the deep strike threat.
Mm-hmm.
What I just said earlier about the Scions like presenting a deep strike threat when you got 3 of them with melted guns set aside in your reserves and your opponent's just like standing there shaking, they're going to be forced to kind of screen out their deployment zone. And if they're busy screening out their deployment zone, you know what they're not going to be doing? Moving as many models as they possibly can into the center of the board.
Yeah.
So what are those shooting models that are screening out their deployment zone going to be doing? They're going to be doing nothing because of the lack of like shooting leads on that map.
And that's and that's something I noticed about this new board too, is that it's not as open as the last LVO one. So yeah, you can't just kind of hang out in the back and take shots. Like you got to be moving into positions to get those shots. So yeah, it's a good point.
And I mean, yeah, while you're screening out your deployment zone from those Scions, it's like, well, I can stay back here. Well, and while I'm doing that and screening them out, Gottfried and the Bulgarian are totally claiming like a ton of
Mid-board.
a ton of like middle of the board control. They're taking domination. They're holding the middle objective because there's usually a middle objective on a lot of those missions. Yeah, and they're getting to move up freely, and the opponent doesn't have that many shots on them because, one, they're focused on screening out, and two, the shooting lanes aren't that great on that map anyway.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little bit more melee oriented than past open boards. So yeah, that's just how I look at it.
Yeah, not that hot of a take after all.
Yeah, I mean, I think by the time that LVO happens, whether it happens in real life or there's some like another like simulation tournament on TTS, I think we're going to see some really good guard performances.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you like speaking personally? Like, are you planning on running guard in a tournament?
If I go to LVO, I don't think I'll run guard.
Yeah.
I think I'd rather run demons just because
Oh yeah.
But maybe I will run guard. I don't know. I think they're real good.
Yeah.
Didn't I see Reaper on that secondary list?
Yeah, but I think they have changed it so that blue horrors and brimstone horrors don't count towards Reaper. Thank God.
Oh, interesting.
So that is I had to beg Sheldon to do that.
Yeah.
And
there's a reason no one was running that faction.
Yep. Yeah.
Demons
were not that viable in BAO for that reason. But that's okay. We're getting off topic.
Yeah.
We're getting off topic.
All right. So we're about a little over 2 hours in. So I think that's gonna do it for this episode.
Yep.
Don't forget to, I guess, hit that subscribe button. Check out our YouTube channel. We recently broke 300 subs over there. So we're going to be announcing some stuff for that channel very soon. And we hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you all soon.